So, Danny, talk to me, man. Tell me about sort of the beginnings of your love for like trainers, shoes, and again, you know, people always have an origin story, you know, there was that shoe they never could have as a kid, or there was that shoe that they could have as a kid, or the shoe that they saw. Like, what was your first memory of sort of being interested in trainers?
So for me, when I started high school is when it all started, because at primary school it was just shoes, and we're talking like I'm of an age where I went to high school in '94.
Okay.
So pre that, no one was bothered. There was no kids' shoes. There was nothing like the hype of trainers back then. So when I started high school, there was a guy who was like, I think he was in year 10 when I started in year 7. And this kid rocked up to school in a different pair of Air Max, like, and we're talking like 93s, do you know, like all the old school stuff.
The new stuff, yeah. At the time, sorry,
Yeah, it's old stuff now, but it was new back then, right? And I just looked and I was like, no way, like this is just madness. And so it was that one guy, I can't even recall his name, but I can just remember he used to walk down the playground. He used to walk to where the smokers were, right? So, and he used
extra cool.
and this guy swaggered through the middle of the whole playground. That was exactly it, right? Yeah. And so so that piqued my interest, and I was like, right, because I just wear normal kind of anything. I wasn't bothered at all. Do you know what I mean? And this is the 90s, right, where it was just like grab a pair of Dunlop or grab a pair of anything.
That was me, Green Flash as a kid. You know what I mean? My parents weren't buying me no Nikes as a kid. So,
No.
Yeah.
So then it was, with my mum, I wanted a pair of Adidas. So it was torsion back then, you know, with the crosses on the bottom, right?
Yeah, of course, come on, yeah.
But my mum was like, it was just too expensive, do you know what I mean, back in the day.
Yeah. I think it was about 50 quid. No, by the 90s, they were like 60, 70.
Yeah, I think they're like 65, something like that. Yeah. And my mum wasn't spending £65 for me to kick up some shoes, do you know what I mean? So it wasn't happening. So then all I wanted was 3 stripes. It didn't really matter at that point. It wasn't about like trying to find the latest and greatest. It was just having 3 stripes. I had a black pair of Adidas equipments. I can't remember the model. And it was just black, 3 white stripes, and that was it. Okay. So that kind of got me hooked. And it wasn't until then, like 99, got myself a little part-time job working in sports soccer, which is now Sports Direct.
Okay, yeah, I vaguely pictured the sports soccer. Yes.
Can you remember? It was like the Donny shop. That was what everyone called it back in the day, right? And that kind of obviously allowed me to have my own money.
Of course.
And then Foot Locker was upstairs from where I used to work. So then 99. It was like TNs, it was 95s.
You still had 98s from the year before, of course 95s, you had Air Max 90s, 99 you had it, the shows are looking good.
Yeah, so that's kind of where it like took a dive into the pool, because I had my own money to spend, right? So if I wanted a pair of 95s, I could spend £110, which is what they were back then.
You just had to balance it out. How much weeks do I have to work? How much do I have to put aside? And I'll go get it. But there was a way to get it now.
Yeah.
And that way wasn't asking mum, because we've both been there. Mum, can I have some Nikes? And then, you know, it was like, how much? I think they were £80, the ones I wanted. And she just looked at me and was like, that's not going to happen. You know, I was wearing troops and all kinds of stuff. I got a part-time job. No, my first pair, I was pocket money in it, but I was Littlewood's catalogue.
Oh yeah.
So
I remember
£5 a week or a month or something, I can't remember, but black torsions, yellow torsion bar, 3 white stripes, I was in heaven. That was my first pair that I ever paid for.
And so from that, I remember almost the exact, not the day, but I remember the date, but I remember the day that I walked down. And we've got like the Hip Store, right?
Yes, is that still there?
So Hip Store's part of JD Group now.
Yeah.
But back then, it was an independent.
Okay.
And I walked down past Hip and I had like some money in my pocket, and I looked and I was like, what is this place?
Yeah.
And I went inside, and the guy who was the manager, who's now a good friend of mine, still works at Hip now, right? A guy called Robin. And he opened up the world of trainers. So it wasn't just the Foot Locker things, because
of course
these guys were getting things from Japan, and like they had the higher accounts at Nike and Adidas, so I can't remember the exact year, but it must have been like 2002, somewhere around there. And they were getting in like, they started getting like the Adidas range, and they had the 35th anniversary superstars. We're talking like that kind of time.
I remember, because I got a couple of those pieces,
But then you start looking for the pieces, right? Because then once your eyes get opened up into the world that we live in now, right? It's not just, and I don't mind, if you're into trainers, you want to buy them from JD and GRs, that's cool, right? I respect that. But we're after the pieces that are like,
you can't
special.
go into JD.
Or they've got a story behind them, or a meaning, or something, you know? Because back then, obviously, it was all about going out, talking to girls, right? Let's be honest, right? That's what it was, right? That's what it was.
That was what it was, guys.
It was
younger days.
But it was picking out the latest Wally Adeyemi t-shirt with the
graffiti,
with the graffiti on,
standard.
and it was having a pair of shoes on that nobody around you had.
Yes, facts. I tell people this all the time. No one wanted to wear the same shoes as their mates. No one. It was like a cardinal sin. You could have the same pairs, but you could wear them on the same day.
Mate, I went to the point where you couldn't even have the same pairs, because you were going like, some of my friends, they didn't get into like the wormhole, right? Whereas I was fully into it. So same. I was like finding out these pieces or anything that was just slightly different. So then when you were going out, everyone would go, what are those on your feet? And you'd be like,
it's like, well,
It was like, but when you're like 18, 19, it's a flex, right? And it's like, right.
That's a big deal.
So, and then from there, it just took a nosedive, and that was me fully invested into. And everybody knows me for like Adidas, I guess, mainly, but as you'll see today, it's not always been Adidas.
I love that.
It's almost all Adidas now, because that's kind of, again, of an age thing and what I'm into now, but that's not my journey. My journey is like taken into. I love trainers. It's not about a brand for me.
And it's the same with me. Like I was trainers, you know, like I say this story all the time, that there was a point where I thought Adidas was my favourite brand, as in for trainers. Because as a kid growing up, you know, Adidas Kick, or, you know, Adidas, whatever the, you know, in the 80s when I was a kid, whatever the little Adidas football boots were, loved those, you know, everything was that, you know. And then I was buying Adidas, and then I looked around one day and I was like, you've got more Nike than you've got Adidas, so you have to be honest with yourself. Is Adidas really still your favourite brand? I liked it because I love the tray for it, and I was like, but I have to be honest and be like, all right, cool, I buy more Nike, so maybe it's more Nike. But the journey has been, you know, Diadoras, Elise, Adidas, Gola, you know, like the journey's been.
Well, from my age, as I was getting into it, Nike SB came out, right? And that was right at the start. And then we had a place called Exit in Leeds, and you could get anything. And we're talking, I've had Stussy Dunks, I've had, back then I had like not to the level, because I think culture's changed. I bought trainers to wear, there was never anything to collect. I bought a pair, I might have had like 5 or 10 on rotation, but they were all being worn. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like now where there's like piled up.
I've never, you know, it's 10 years I've not worn them. It's like, what are you doing? They'll probably crumble, you know what I mean? So I'm with you, like you might have a bigger rotation as you start again, but they were all getting worn. You didn't have a chance not to wear them. It's like, I could wear this Monday, Tuesday. Whereas now you're like, damn, I could go a month without wearing a new pair, you know. I mean, I've got a month's worth of new pairs, you know, and you're like, okay, at some point you've got to start wearing them, you know. So
funny, when I started a new job, we can like dress down and stuff like that. So I didn't tell anybody in the office like about the thing, and I just wore a different pair of shoes to work every single day. And it took months and months, and people were like, mate, like how many?
Gonna wear the same pair?
Honestly, there was a guy and he just went, how many pairs of shoes have you got? And I was like, I
love a piece of string.
I played the game with myself, like it was something I was doing just to entertain myself, like, and then someone clicked in the office, and then.
I love that, and it's a good thing, you know, like I've had that and I've gone in and like, hold on, you know, obviously I couldn't wear trainers every day, but you know, when it's time you could dress down like Fridays, it's like, you've got to think about shoes, isn't it? I'm like, you know, What can I say? What can I say? All right, so now you've got your own money, you started buying your own, you started collecting, the journey's in full effect, you've gone to hit, the world's been open. So, I know you said your friends were a bit later on in the journey. Are you now like a sort of solo traveller, so to speak, or are you now, you and your friends sort of going out looking for trainers, or even if you're not shopping together, are you now really like, oh, you got those, I'm going to one-up you, or like, how's the journey now? Are you just now sort of, I like shoes, I buy what I like, and, you know, I'm discovering more about the history?
Yeah, I guess that, and my friends never came with me on the trainer journey, really, so it was kind of solo. At the time I was working in education as well, right? So there was no, when social media kicked off, you won't see me in 2006, 7, 8, 9. There's just nothing there for me because social media couldn't do it being a teacher, right?
Makes
so,
sense, yeah.
So I had nobody to like kind of connect with, you know. I was still going to the shops, I was still finding pieces.
Talking to people,
I was still, what was the, there's a website I used to get stuff from America, and I've forgotten the name of it now.
Not good websites that are gone. I couldn't even begin.
Pick Your Shoes.
Pick Your Shoes.
Right, do you remember Pick Your Shoes?
Pick Your Shoes. I got some Air Force Ones, grey, blue, white tick. I still have them. I saw them this morning from Pick Your Shoes, and I didn't even know that until you said that. Yeah. But I remember the pair that I got from them.
Because you remember, obviously, like they were all just like little stock photos, but all the dunks,
white page,
all the dunks were on there. Everything you could just get for like retail back then.
Pick Your Shoes. Wow.
So I was just scouting out places like that, and then.
That's from the past.
And then, do you know what happened? Life took over.
Yeah.
And I got married. I had kids, and the disposable income went, and I sold a lot of my collection just to fund life. Do you know what I mean? And it wasn't until like the kids came, got a little bit older, and then I stepped back into the world of probably about 2014. Okay. So there's like a gap from about 2007. To about 2014 when both my kids came, and then I had the money to kind of.
So and then when you step back in now, SPEZIAL is kicking butt. You know what I mean? Oh wait, when did they start? 2014.
2014. So I missed the start.
Yeah, they just started.
Right? I missed the start of SPEZIAL. And it was just. Yeah, I went when I started collecting again. I went to go see Robin, who was now working in the hip store, which was part of JD then at that point. And we just started talking. He was like, "Mate, I've not seen you for years." I was like, "Well, life got in the way," kind of thing. And then, I just got back straight into it, and with more money in my pocket as well, so I could afford to kind of. Do you know what I mean? I could go and get like not what I wanted. I don't mean like that, but
no, but if you wanted something, you knew that you could get it. Do you know what I mean? Not that you're buying all 50 pairs, but you knew if you wanted a pair, it's less of a. When you're younger, everything has to be, Whereas, although you say that when you're younger, it's like spend it, see what happens.
I know what you mean.
Less money, but more, more freedom, so to speak. So
so it was about 2015, 2016. That's when I started getting back into it.
Okay, so 2015 now, you're picking up more pairs. You're back. The family's doing well. The bills are paid. You've got a little bit of disposable. You're buying a shoe here and there. What are you buying in this period, like 2015 till let's say till lockdown? Like, have you now started going, actually, Adidas is my brand, I'm tapering off? Or are you still mixing and blending?
So I was mixing it up quite a lot back then. So there was still a lot of Nike, picking up like Air Max ones, even with that awful shape that was back then. That was freaking terrible. But there was still the odd pairs.
I know, I bought every awful shape, and it's the odd pair.
We've all been down that road, right? And then I was still picking up some Dunk SBs because this was pre-hype again. The odd pair of Adidas, but I still hadn't discovered like the SPEZIAL line or anything like that. Still, even though it started coming out, because I still wasn't social media savvy. I didn't really do all that. I was just starting to discover social media, I guess.
I mean, we were all using it to post pictures of our foods in the early days, weren't we? Look! I had spaghetti.
Yeah, that's it, right?
Does anyone remember that phase? Do you remember that phase? It was just pictures of food and it seemed like the best thing ever.
And then, so, like the journey, I guess, was then into social media, which opened up my eyes even more, do you know what I mean? Like, I was still trying to do things, because of the gap. So for you think from 2007 till 2014, 2015.
A lot had happened.
Like, and we're talking a lot like internet, social media, like knowledge bases, all this kind of stuff. The game had completely changed, right? Like people were saying like, not that there was particularly raffles back then, but it was just like, oh, how to find out where to get stuff had completely changed for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I think around them times, I don't know, maybe, but around them times, I'm sure Drop Date stuff was created around that period,
the Soul Supplier, all these kind of people.
They weren't around before. No. You'd have to be in the know, whereas Drop Date and things like that, they gave it to you on a plate. Like, oh, this is when it's dropped in Soul Supplier. Oh, this is when it's dropping. That gave people more, like, okay, I can plan ahead kind of thing, you know, and start really understanding what's going on.
And then it was just trying to find my feet into what I was buying, what I wanted. Because around this time, it's like Yeezy, right? Like, and you think like turtle doves and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, so I'm going back into this world that didn't exist in 2007 to people being absolutely nuts and spending 800, 900 pounds on
shoes,
and I'm like, what is this, right? So then I was like, oh, don't, like Yeezys, like, and then I've kind of corrected myself, like, I think everybody's done it, and I think anybody who says they didn't, I'm calling them out now, right? You're a liar, right? You're a liar. Everybody's gone down a little route because like the masses have kind of gone for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and they've followed the hype a little bit, and then they've gone, hang on a second.
Yeah, definitely.
Hang on a second, that's not me. And then they find their own lane, and I think like...
It's true, yeah, for sure. No, I agree, but especially, you know, like even, and again, it's not necessarily an age thing either. It's that's hot, you know, it's like, for example, Huaraches, you know, people might have wore Huaraches before, but when that wave came back and Joey Essex was wearing it, you know, there's certain people who maybe never wore Huaraches before. I've worn Huaraches, you know, they was on the Huarache, and if it's not the Huarache, it might be the Adidas Boost, or, you know, there's always a shoe that kind of gets you on, and then you're actually like, actually, this isn't quite... I
had loads of pairs of Ultra Boosts when they came out, because...
I still never owned a pair, and I want a pair still till today. I want like an OG, the OG kind of pair.
So this is where, so when all the Ultra Boosts were coming out, and they were kind of hard to get.
Yeah, no, they were, certain ones.
But then I was still on the, right, I need the pair that nobody's got. So I've got like a pair of Chinese New Year Ultra Boosts, like, they were like a ready kind of...
They weren't tie-dye, were they?
No, they weren't tie-dye. Yeah, they were like...
They did a sort of tie-dye red.
Sort of tie-dye, but not tie-dyed. They were like Chinese New Year. I'll get a picture. I'll send you a picture so you can...
Nice one,
and then it was from that point on, I think, we kind of started doing like the Annex, and then that kind of grew. Well, I think it was like 2016.
Wow.
So what happened was my son started school, and the guy who I started the Annex up with, so a guy called Paul, not Lance though, so I don't know if you're still...
Shout out Lance as well.
So if you've never seen the early stuff, right? The guy behind the camera didn't want to be...
Yeah, he never wanted to be on... It
wasn't his...
He always used to speak...
But it wasn't his real name, he was completely hidden. He was like the Stig, right?
Yes.
So that was kind of how we played it. And it kind of and it worked, right? Like people liked it. But his son started school with my son. And we became friends just because it was like in the park and they're playing, and they're like 4 and 5 years old. And it's like, oh, what you into? So, and I even remember, right, so this guy comes up to me, this Scouser, and we're talking, and we're like, oh, what football team do you support and all this? You know, like the usual.
What team do you support?
So I'm Arsenal, believe it or not. You're Tottenham, aren't you? I know you like that. End of interview.
Anyway. as you were.
So this guy, obviously, I'm like Northwest Leeds, and I hear this Scouser, and I'm like, oh, who do you support? And he's like, Everton, blah, blah, blah. What are you into? Just kind of usual things. And he goes, oh, I'm into trainers. Now, as soon as, I don't know about you, right, or any of you lot, right, when someone says I'm into trainers, right, my like red flag goes up, and I think,
are you?
You're not really, mate.
Yeah.
You know, do you know what I mean?
I know.
I'm into shoes.
I'm into shoes, trust me.
I'm into shoes.
Yeah, I'm into shoes. Let's find out.
So I goes, oh, so what have you got? He goes, oh, well, I just like collecting all sorts. But I've probably got about 30 pairs of micro pacer.
Ooh,
and I'm like,
there's a man who knows stuff.
And then,
because micro pacers are not the pairs you would have thought he'd have 30 of.
Yeah, and so straight away I'm like, oh, right, okay.
Exactly.
And then obviously we became friends.
Yeah.
And if you've ever seen the early episodes of the Annex, there's like I'm sat and there's all the shoes behind.
Yes, behind
that wasn't
yeah.
staged, right? So the Annex was part of Lance's house. Like it was like an annex of the house.
Okay, I get
it was actually his wife who came up with the channel name of, call it the Annex because that's where you're going to film it. Right? So all the shoes were there. Yeah. They were there forever, right? And it was one of our other friends. So what we used to do, we used to go around to Paul's house and he had a pool table. We used to shoot pool and just kind of... What?
Shoot pool and then shoot an episode?
Well, a little bit, but originally we were shooting pool and then a guy called Dom, he did like social media for Bradford City. He was a parent at the football team and he was like, why do you guys not do like a YouTube channel about shoes? And he put on soul searching on the YouTube thing because he knew Mark Bedford, who was the photographer who went to Buenos Aires, right?
Okay, and did the...
Neil Bedford, sorry.
I'm not with the name, but the Carlos, was that?
Yeah, so Carlos.
Yeah, okay.
And then that struck up like, that's when we discovered SPEZIAL because of the video.
Okay.
And then that's when we thought maybe we should do, because I've always been a creator. So before trainers, I used to write about cars. I used to have my own car blog.
Oh wow.
So I've always had like a little fingers in pies kind of thing, right? Yeah, there's always a little project and there's always...
I like that.
Yeah. And so it just started from there, like we just created the channel and then all we did it for was fun. It wasn't to be, there was no plan. We both had like good jobs and it was never to try and like do YouTube or be internet famous or anything. It didn't bother us anything like that. All it was two friends having a laugh, sharing a beer, talking about the shoes that we were picking up, right? And that's kind of how it all kind of kicked off.
And amazing because again, this is when it, for me, I find when it's organic, you can tell it's organic. And like I'm not really, you know, I didn't even really start subscribing to YouTubers really for a while because I'm like, okay, yeah, cool, and you know, but when I saw your show, I don't know how I saw it, maybe it was Instagram that brought it up or somehow, I'm sure someone I know probably posted it or something like that. But I loved the energy, like I remember it was you, and at the time when I started watching you, it was you, there's a guy called Golden Goat Reviews, he's no longer doing it, but he's Northern as well, and I just liked your naturalness, and it was just so, you know, it wasn't like, oh my God, guys, shoes, and it was just like, he's talking about shoes, how I like to hear people talk about shoes.
Yeah, because what I was conscious of was not making it boring, right? People, like I said, we created it for ourselves, really, because we just wanted to have a laugh with it, right? And it was like, if people watch, then happy days. And I always think if you do it like that, rather than having a target in mind and thinking, I want to do this, then your views become a bit fake, maybe, or you might be doing stuff that you don't really believe in. And you know, that's just each to their own, right? But it's just not.
But it's a downward spiral because now you have to keep up to that.
Exactly.
And I totally agree. It's like me, you know, I do a YouTube about clothing stuff, but I never do nothing necessarily that's, oh, this just came out or that just came out. For the simple fact that I can't afford to get every, you know, the latest Stone Island piece. So anything I did was because I had it, or maybe I just got, do you know what I mean? And then that way I didn't have to keep up with the Joneses. So, you know, and again, when you find your bit, you know, where it's like, this is where I sit, and, you know, I don't have to do this or be that person, you know, try and be the influencer, like, you must get these. No, it's like, I like these. I'm sure there's at least 10 people who like these. I like them. I'm talking to them, and then everyone else sort of, put your ears to it. Oh, I might jump on, and that's how it builds.
Exactly, you know? And like I said, the point about having Paul off camera, and I'm a Yorkshire lad, you know, I'm from Leeds, I've got a very Yorkshire accent. He was a Scouser, so it's the changing accents, do you know what I mean? And there was you couldn't see this guy. So what was funny is we'd go to like events, and people would come up to me because obviously you saw me on camera, and like, oh, Danny. But what was the first question they always asked?
Where's Paul?
and he would be stood right next to me, right? And they'd go, well, they'd say, where's Lance? Because we didn't disclose his name ever. His name was never disclosed fully. So yeah, it was kind of funny that. He actually went, one of the things I didn't manage to do because of work, he went to Germany to pick up some shoes. And there were the overkill ones, you know, the ZX 10,000 and the 3.
Yes, and they had a pack of 3,
right? So this is, I'm not saying when we'd made it, right, because that's not, I don't believe in like you've made it and all this. But what was funny, right, there was, so he was stood there talking to like some guys and just chit-chatting like you do at like these launch parties and stuff like this. And a guy called George, so Mr. Griefing on Instagram, George has gone to some other guy. I know that guy, and he works for ADIDAS, by the way, this guy, right? So that's why I was saying.
Even better.
George from ADIDAS in Germany goes, I know that guy's name, no, I know that guy's voice, but why do I know that guy's voice? But I don't recognise him. and he goes, and someone else has gone, that's Lance No Chance from the Annex. And he goes, no, he's like, no way, like, and then started talking.
Love that. That's when you made it. Yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I mean?
You can be recognised from your voice alone, you've made it.
And it was just like, it was just a beautiful moment. He came back and he was just laughing about this story.
Oh my God,
and I was
you'll
like,
never guess. And he was from ADIDAS in Germany.
yeah. It was such a cool like little.
Dope. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a cool little snippet, I guess, from the Annex back then. Do you know what I mean?
And I love little moments like that. You know, I've had people on the bus and go, "You're that guy," and I'm like. I'm always, because it's weird to me, I forget, not that I forget I do YouTube, and it's like, oh, and I'm like, because obviously I'm like, it's like, oh, from YouTube, I was like, oh yeah, of course, you know, I'm thinking like, it's like, oh yeah, I love your channel, I'm like, oh, thanks man, one of every person each year who's going to do this, I'll take one every year of someone doing that, because it just makes me smile, and it's just like, oh, thank you man, because it's not about, oh yeah, it's more just like, someone watched it and they felt comfortable enough to say to you, I actually enjoy that. Because some people will enjoy it but won't say to you, you know, they'll watch from afar and go, okay, you know. So it's always nice when people are genuine.
And we're all different, right? I get messages quite often saying, oh, I saw you in Leeds. And I was like, oh, why didn't you not come and say hi? And like, oh, I didn't want to kind of.
I'm a bit like that.
And I said, and I always reply back saying, listen, I'm just a normal guy, right? I know I do YouTube, but I know it's like most people don't do YouTube, right? Let's be honest, right?
That's true.
So I guess normal people, for want of a better phrase, they were like, oh, I don't know what to do, or I don't know what to say, or how do I approach this person?
What if he's a wanker and then I have to be like, oh shit, you know what I mean? I get it.
Yeah. But I always said to people like, just come and say hi, right? I'm just a normal guy. I've actually got a normal job. I do this for fun, right? This is a hobby.
I'm
just sharing my passion.
Like that, you know
exactly.
For real.
But it's kind of nice when people come up to you and go,
It is. It's a nice little feeling because like I did put time into those videos, you know what I mean? So, you know. Anyway, this has been a great conversation.
I know.
I mean, I love it, guys. See, I always give you a little bit of insight, do you know what I mean? I don't want us to just sit down and start bringing out shoes. It's good to talk to the people behind behind the brands, behind the shoes, you know, whichever way you want to look at it. So, you know, Danny, a great conversation. Should we get into what we came to
Go for it, man.
All right, let's do it.